Now, tell me, what type of coach are you?
My official title is, first and foremost, thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda, for having me on your platform, on your show. I really appreciate it. Anytime that I can highlight some of the areas in which I focus, I am grateful. So, but I focus on life and transformational healing, technically. And also, because of my past and my history, I focus a lot on helping women find their voices so that they can overcome past traumas.
Yes. I guess my question is, I'm sure that in your line of work, you probably deal with people on both sides of that spectrum. But how does a person determine whether that a person who needs to sit by themselves or the person who needs to find someone to talk to?
Well, just based on my own experience and my studies, I do not believe that we are a one size fits in all seasons of our lives. You might hear me becoming quite redundant in our conversation because I believe there are seasons in which both apply. I don't know anyone who has never needed someone else. I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone alive or dead. There are always seasons in our lives where we might need the support, the coaching, the therapy. I'm not a therapist, but the therapy of someone else, someone who is licensed, right? We may need to talk with them to get the scientific perspective of what's really going on in my brain. I've prayed enough. I've fasted enough. I've meditated enough. I've done all the things, and yet I'm still hitting this brick wall. When you've done all the things, okay, and even if you are standardly, if you are the person that's always, I'm usually more self-sufficient, I do things by myself, I function better, I'm a severe introvert, and you know that with introverts, we generally get most of our energy by ourselves, right? And so the lie becomes that I don't need anyone. That's a lie. There will be seasons where I need people, but there are also seasons where I have to do that inward work by myself. There are things that a therapist cannot do for me. They can give me the roadmap. They can give me the blueprint on how to get there, but I have to take the steps. I have to do the work. I have to get dirty. So yes, there are, and there will be seasons where you need to be by yourself. We also need some insight, some discernment. We need intuition to guide us. I call it the Holy Spirit because I am a believer, to guide us and tell us, hey, don't trust that person. That's that thing, that still small voice in you where you go into a new environment, you don't know these people, but something in you says, don't talk to her or don't talk to him. That's that voice inside of you, that intuition, that gut instinct. We need to be able to figure out, wait a minute, my gut's telling me, keep that to myself. My gut's telling me, girl, this journey, this part of your journey, this is called the solo walk. Yes. or this part of your journey, this is called my community walk.
Yes. Now, if only you put all of those great thoughts into a book.
Nice segue. I love that. Well, the beauty of that is I am writing another book with more of this. Now, I've written various books. Some are poetry because I'm also a poet. But my last book is When She Flipped. And flipped, as I referenced earlier, is an acronym for forgiveness, love, purpose, and thoughts. In this book, I focus a lot on story. A lot of stories about my past and the things that I dealt with and the things that traumatized me. And I don't know how deep we want to go into this. But as I said before, I've overcome a lot of things. I've come over because often we think, and I understand when we go through pain, when we go through the trauma, when we go through the devastations and the disappointments of life, we don't want to see them again. We want to tuck them away and put them in a little box and pack it in the corner or in the closet. Well, I did that for decades, and it literally almost took my life. So when I talk about literally almost taking my life, I wanted and I attempted to no longer live. I hate these terms that they're using for this cause of shadow banning, but I attempted to unalive myself 4 different times in my life, starting at 12 years old and ending at 30. At 30 years old, that was the last time. And at 30 years old, I physically flatlined. The defibrillator had to be used on me several times, mouth-to-mouth chest compressions in the emergency vehicle. The paramedics had to come get me, all the things. I lost consciousness. My heart stopped beating, all the things. And
And I mean, I would say as deep as you would like to go, this is your platform right now, and if you want to speak further about it, you can. Whatever
okay.
you feel comfortable with.
Okay. Well, my uncle, when I was 9 years old, my favorite uncle, molested me. And it shook me because I was already from a dysfunctional home and my mother was 16 when she had me. So she was a child, not able to give me the love and support and nurturing that I needed because she was still trying to grow up herself. And once my uncle did that, and then I told, I was physically assaulted by an aunt. And so a lot of things were happening at a very early age for me. At 9 years old, at 10 years old, once I told and that all came out, I realized that not only did my body not belong to me, but my voice didn't either.
Mm.
My truth didn't matter. So I stopped speaking it. I became very inward centered, if that makes sense. Everything was, if it happened to me, I just tucked it away. I put it in a little box, and yet it was poisoning me daily. And I don't know if that made me an introvert and going to 6 different grammar schools and all the things, or if I was born to be an introvert. But I know that I felt very alone and very forgotten. And
Mm.
so then my father, who at the time was in prison for raping a child who lived across the street from us, he did this when I was 6. Once he was released from prison and I'm 16 years old and I see him in all these things, he was released when I was 14, but I couldn't see him until I was 16. He raped me and was very violent toward me. Something happened with a gun, all these things. So there's no stability there. I'm in a household with my mother who never told me she loved me. I'm being physically abused, sexually abused, all the things by people who should be protecting me. There was no validating Michelle. There was no one there like pouring into me and telling me I'm special. So I tucked away a lot of things and I had a lot of unresolved issues and unforgiveness in me. Who, again, it happens again because often when children are victims, they are victimized more than once. The studies have shown that, right? It's generally never once, right? There are always, those one-offs or whatever, but generally it's more than more than one person. So this message is being echoed and communicated on more than one time by more than one person. What is my value? I'm not safe anywhere. So now I have to protect me. So when we talk about the angry Black woman and she's hard and she's this, how about you have a conversation with her and see what she's been through? Because that might be from a protective mechanism. That might be what she learned to do. No one else protected her. I was very strong and self-aware and I'm self-sufficient. Well, I didn't want to be. But that's what I learned. I had to protect me. I had to stand up for me. I had to do the things for me because no one else was going to come and rescue me.
Okay.
And if I can add one more thing, Dr.
Sure.
Rhonda,
Sure.
as you mentioned, Child Abuse Awareness Month and all this, protect your children and listen to them.
Yes.
And even if they're not your children, if it's a neighbor's child, if it's your godchild, listen to them.